Hyun-soo stared at the holographic display floating above his desk and felt his 3 hearts beat faster. Something was wrong with the data. It had to be wrong. No species could be this reckless and still survive. He was a researcher at the Galactic Xenobiology Institute, and for the past 6 months he had been studying Earth. His job was simple: understand how humans evolved, catalog their behavior, and file a report. Most species took him 3 weeks to figure out. Humans had taken half a year, and he still didn't understand them. The current file open in front of him showed Earth's prehistoric period. Massive creatures filled the screen. Dire wolves with jaws that could crush bone. Saber-toothed cats with fangs as long as his arm. Cave bears that stood 3 times the height of a human. These were apex predators, the kind of animals that made other species flee to safer planets. But humans didn't flee. That was the part that confused him. Hyun-soo scrolled through the timeline. 10,000 years ago, 20,000, 40,000. In every era, humans lived alongside these killers. They should have been prey. They were smaller, weaker, slower. Their claws were tiny. Their teeth were flat. They had no venom, no armor, no natural weapons at all. Yet somehow they survived. Not just survived, they thrived. He pulled up another file. This one showed cave paintings from 30,000 years ago. Humans had drawn themselves hunting with wolves, not running from wolves, not fighting wolves, hunting together side by side like partners. That can't be right, Hyun-soo muttered. He checked the translation software. It was working perfectly. His assistant Ji-woo entered the lab carrying a container of food. She was younger than him with 4 arms instead of his 2, and she always seemed more excited about the research than he did. "Still looking at the humans?" she asked, setting the food down. "You've been staring at those files for 3 days. Ji-woo, look at this." Hyun-soo expanded the hologram so she could see it better. "These are Earth's prehistoric predators. Do you see how large they are? How dangerous?" "Yes. Terrifying creatures. I'm glad they're extinct. Most of them aren't extinct." Hyun-soo pulled up a new file. "Watch this." The hologram changed to show modern Earth. A human stood in a field, and next to the human stood a large gray animal with sharp teeth and yellow eyes. A wolf. Not quite as big as the dire wolves from prehistoric times, but still plenty dangerous. The human reached down and touched the wolf's head. The wolf's tail moved back and forth. It looked happy. "The human is petting it," Ji-woo said slowly, "like it's not dangerous. Keep watching." The video continued. The human threw a stick. The wolf ran after it, picked it up in its mouth, and brought it back to the human. The human laughed and threw the stick again. They were playing. A human and a predator were playing together like children. Ji-woo's 4 eyes went wide. Is the human controlling it somehow? A device? Chemicals? No device. No chemicals. They just live together. Humans call them dogs now. There are hundreds of millions of dogs living with humans on Earth, in their homes, sleeping in their beds, eating at their tables. But why would the predators allow this? Hyun-soo pulled up more files. It gets stranger. Look at these. Cats that could tear a human apart, but instead slept on their laps. Horses that could kick, hard enough to break bones but let humans ride on their backs. Bears that could kill with one swipe of their paw but performed tricks for treats. Snakes with deadly venom kept in glass boxes as companions. Birds of prey that could take out an eye but landed on human arms when called. Ji-woo watched file after file in silence. When the last one finished, she turned to Hyun-soo. "How many species have humans done this with?" "At least 40 that we've confirmed. Probably more." 40 species of predators? Not just predators. They befriend everything. Animals that could poison them. Animals that could crush them. Animals that could eat them. If it exists on Earth, some human somewhere has probably tried to make friends with it. Ji-woo sat down, all 4 of her arms hanging limply at her sides. "This doesn't make sense. We've studied 237 intelligent species across the galaxy. Not one of them does this. Predators are avoided or eliminated. That's basic survival instinct. Why would humans ignore that instinct? I don't know, Hyun-soo admitted. That's the problem. Every model I run says humans should have gone extinct millions of years ago. But they didn't. They became the dominant species on one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. Maybe they're just stupid, Ji-woo suggested. Maybe they don't understand danger. Hyun-soo shook his head. No, they understand it. Look at this. He pulled up a file showing human safety equipment, protective gear, warning signs, emergency protocols. They know what's dangerous. They build entire systems to protect themselves from threats. But then they bring predators into their homes anyway. Ji-woo leaned closer to the hologram. What does your supervisor say? I haven't told him yet. I wanted to make sure the data was correct first, but I've checked it 17 times. It's correct. This is really what humans do. So what's your theory? Hyun-soo was quiet for a long moment. He had been thinking about this question for weeks, and he still didn't have a good answer. I think, he said slowly, that humans don't see these animals the way we do. When we look at a predator, we see a threat, something to fear or fight. But when humans look at a predator, they see something else, something we don't have a word for in our language. What do they see? I think they see a friend. Ji-woo laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. That's insane. I know. But look at the evidence. It's the only explanation that fits. They both stared at the hologram in silence. On the screen, a human child was lying on the floor next to a large dog. The dog could have hurt the child easily. Instead, it was licking the child's face while the child giggled. Finally, Ji-woo spoke. We need to go there. To Earth. We need to see this ourselves. Talk to humans. Ask them why they do this. My supervisor will never approve it. Field studies on human worlds are expensive. Show him the files. If he sees what we've seen, he'll approve it. He has to. Because if we don't understand this about humans, we don't understand humans at all. Hyun-soo knew she was right. He had been avoiding this moment because part of him didn't want to go to Earth. Earth scared him. It was a planet where the dominant species befriended creatures that could kill them. What kind of place was that? But he was a scientist. Fear didn't matter. Understanding mattered. He saved his files and stood up. Let's go talk to him now. 3 days later, Hyun-soo stood in his supervisor's office with an approved travel permit in his hand. In 2 weeks, he and Ji-woo would leave for Earth. They would visit a wildlife rehabilitation center run by a human named Tae-young. The center was full of predators, wolves, bears, large cats, all living with humans, all supposedly safe. Hyun-soo looked at the permit and felt his heart race again. He was really going to do this. He was going to stand on Earth and watch humans interact with creatures that could kill them. And somehow he had to figure out why. The transport ship landed in a green valley surrounded by mountains. Hyun-soo stepped out onto Earth's surface for the first time and immediately felt wrong. The gravity was slightly heavier than he was used to. The air smelled strange, full of scents he couldn't identify. And somewhere in the distance he heard an animal howl. That's a wolf, Ji-woo said, checking her portable scanner. About 2 kilometers away. Hyun-soo checked his own scanner. The biosuit he wore was designed to protect him from Earth's environment, and right now it was flashing yellow warnings. Dangerous predators detected in the area. Recommended action. Return to ship. He ignored the warning and kept walking. A dirt path led from their landing site toward a cluster of buildings. That was the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. That was where Tae-young worked. They hadn't walked more than 50 steps when a human appeared on the path ahead. She was small by human standards, with dark hair tied back from her face. She wore simple clothing with no armor at all. When she saw them, she smiled and waved. "You must be the researchers from the Institute," she called out in perfect galactic standard. "I'm Da-yoon. Tae-young sent me to bring you to the center. Welcome to Earth." Hyun-soo tried to return the smile, but wasn't sure if his face muscles worked the same way. "Thank you for allowing us to visit." "Of course, we're excited to meet you. We don't get many alien visitors out here." Daun started walking back up the path, and they followed. "How was your trip?" "Long," Jiwoo said. "But interesting. This is our first time on Earth." "Really? Well, you picked a beautiful spot. This valley has some of the best wildlife in the country." Daun pointed to the mountains. "We get bears up there in the summer. Deer, wildcats, all kinds of birds. It's amazing." Hyun-soo's scanner flashed red. His biosuit had just detected something very dangerous very close by. "Down," he said sharply to Jiwoo. "Get down right now." But Da-un just looked confused. "What's wrong?" "My scanner says there's a lethal threat within 10 meters. A large predator." Da-un's confusion turned to understanding, and then she laughed. "Oh, that's just Kyung-ho. He likes to follow me when I go to meet visitors. He's friendly, I promise." Before Hyun-soo could ask who Kyung-ho was, a massive gray wolf stepped out from behind a tree. It was bigger than the ones in the prehistoric files, with thick fur and eyes that seemed to look right through him. The wolf stared at Hyun-soo and Jiwoo, and its lips pulled back slightly to show white teeth. Every instinct in Hyun-soo's body screamed at him to run. His scanner was going crazy now, flashing red and making a high-pitched alarm sound. "Lethal threat. Extreme danger. Evacuate immediately." But Da-un walked right up to the wolf and put her hand on its head. "It's okay, Kyung-ho. They're friends. Be nice." The wolf looked up at Da-un. Its tail started moving back and forth, just like in the videos Hyun-soo had watched. The teeth disappeared as its mouth closed. It made a soft sound, almost like a whine. "See?" Da-un said. "Totally friendly. You can pet him if you want." "I absolutely do not want that," Hyun-soo said. Jiwoo surprised him by taking a step forward. "What if he bites?" "He won't bite. Watch." Da-un scratched behind the wolf's ears. Kyung-ho leaned into her hand and closed his eyes, looking almost peaceful. "Kyung-ho came to us 3 years ago. He was injured and his pack had left him behind. Tae-young treated his wounds, and when he healed, Kyung-ho decided to stay. He's part of our family now." "Family," Hyun-soo repeated. The word didn't translate well. In his language, family meant genetic relatives, members of your own species. But Da-un had used it to describe a wolf. They continued walking, with Kyung-ho following behind them. Every few seconds, Hyun-soo glanced back to make sure the wolf wasn't preparing to attack. But Kyung-ho just walked calmly, occasionally sniffing at interesting plants or looking at birds in the trees. The rehabilitation center was bigger than Hyun-soo had expected. Multiple buildings surrounded a central courtyard. Fenced areas held different animals, and he could see humans moving between them, carrying food and equipment. Everyone looked busy but relaxed, like this was just a normal day. A man came out of the largest building to greet them. He was tall, with kind eyes and strong hands. "Welcome, I'm Tae-young. Thank you for traveling so far to visit us." Hyun-soo shook his hand, copying the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for allowing us to study your work. We're very interested in understanding how humans interact with Earth's predators." Tae-young smiled. "Well, you came to the right place. We have about 30 animals here right now. Wolves, bears, wildcats, birds of prey. All of them were injured or orphaned. We treat them, help them recover, and when possible, release them back into the wild." "And when it's not possible?" Jiwoo asked. "Then they stay here with us, like Kyung-ho. Some animals are too comfortable with humans to survive in the wild, so they become permanent residents." Tae-young gestured toward the buildings. "Let me show you around." The tour was terrifying. In the first building, Hyun-soo met Soo-bin, the center's veterinarian. She was in the middle of examining a large black bear. The bear sat on a metal table while Soo-bin checked its teeth. The bear could have killed her with one swipe, but it just sat there patiently, occasionally making rumbling sounds. "This is Bomb," Soo-bin explained. "She was hit by a vehicle last month. Broken leg. It's healing well now." She reached into a container and pulled out something that looked like a fish. "Want to give her a treat? She loves salmon." Jiwoo took the fish carefully and held it out. The bear's massive head turned toward her, and for a moment Hyun-soo was certain he was about to watch his assistant die. But the bear just gently took the fish from Jiwoo's hand and ate it, making happy grunting sounds. She likes you, Subin said. Bears are very social animals. They enjoy company. In the second building, they met Minho, a young volunteer who was playing with 3 tiger cubs. The cubs tackled him and he laughed as they chewed on his arms and climbed over his back. Their teeth were small but sharp, and Hyun-soo could see tiny scratches on Minho's skin. "Doesn't that hurt?" Hyun-soo asked. Minho looked up, still smiling. "A little, but they're just babies. They don't know their own strength yet. When they get bigger, we'll teach them not to bite so hard. And if they don't learn, then we'll adapt. That's what we do. We learn to understand them, and they learn to understand us. It's a partnership." By the time the tour ended, Hyun-soo's brain hurt from trying to process everything he'd seen. Humans touching predators, predators accepting that touch. Nobody dying, nobody even getting seriously injured. It went against everything he knew about survival and evolution. They gathered in Tae-young's office for tea. It was a human custom, drinking hot beverages while talking. The tea tasted strange, but not unpleasant. "So," Tae-young said, setting down his cup, "you wanted to understand why we do this, why we befriend dangerous animals. I'm curious what you think so far." Hyun-soo chose his words carefully. "I think you're all insane, but I also think there's something here I don't understand yet, something important." Tae-young nodded. "That's fair. Most species think we're crazy. But here's the thing you need to understand about humans. We don't see these animals as dangerous. I mean, we know they can hurt us. We're not stupid. But that's not what we see when we look at them." "What do you see?" Jiwoo asked. "We see individuals, personalities. Kyung-ho isn't just a wolf. He's Kyung-ho, who loves having his ears scratched and gets scared during thunderstorms. Bomb isn't just a bear. She's Bomb, who's grumpy in the mornings and loves swimming in the pond. Every animal here has a name, a history, preferences, feelings. But they're still predators," Hyun-soo said. "So are we," Tae-young replied quietly. "Humans are predators too. Maybe that's why we understand each other." That night, Tae-young offered them rooms in the center's guest building. As Hyun-soo lay in his bed, he could hear Kyung-ho howling somewhere outside. Other wolves answered from the mountains. For the first time since arriving on Earth, the sound didn't seem threatening. It sounded like a family calling to each other in the dark. On the third day, Hyun-soo stopped wearing his biosuit. The constant warning alarms were giving him headaches, and he realized they were useless anyway. The suit kept telling him he was about to die, but he wasn't dying. None of the humans were dying. The animals here weren't interested in killing anyone. That morning, he sat in the courtyard with his recording device and watched Tae-young feed the animals. There was a rhythm to it, a routine. Each animal got fed at a specific time with specific food. Tae-young knew all their preferences without checking any notes. An elderly man arrived at the center just before noon. He wore thick leather gloves and carried a large cage. Inside the cage was a bird with sharp talons and a curved beak. A predator bird. Hyun-soo's scanner identified it, capable of taking down prey twice its size. "That's Wonshik," Jiwoo said. She had been talking to the staff all morning, learning everyone's names. "He's a falconer. He trains hunting birds." Wonshik set the cage down carefully and opened it. The bird hopped onto his gloved hand immediately, completely calm. Wonshik smiled and stroked its feathers with one finger. Hyun-soo approached slowly. "Excuse me. May I ask you some questions?" Wonshik looked up and his old eyes studied Hyun-soo for a moment. Then he nodded. "Of course. You're the researcher from the stars, yes? Tae-young told me about you. I want to understand how you work with these birds. They're dangerous, aren't they?" "Very dangerous," Wonshik agreed. "This is Hanul. She's a hawk. Her talons can punch through leather. Her beak can tear meat from bone. If she wanted to hurt me, I couldn't stop her." "Then why do you work with her?" Wonshik considered the question while Hanul shifted on his hand. "I've been a falconer for 60 years. My father was a falconer. His father before him. In my family, we've worked with birds of prey for over 200 years. In all that time, do you know how many serious injuries we've had?" "How many?" 3. And 2 of those were our fault, not the birds' fault. We made mistakes, moved too quickly, scared them." Wonshik looked at Hanul with obvious affection. "These birds don't want to hurt us. They're not angry or evil. They're just birds living their lives. If we respect them, learn their language, understand their needs, they respect us back. But how do you know they won't attack? I don't know. Not for certain. That's the point. There's always risk, but there's risk in everything worth doing. You could stay in your ship, never come down to the planet, never meet anyone, and you'd be perfectly safe. You'd also be perfectly alone. Is that better? Hyunsu didn't have an answer to that. One Shik let him watch while he worked with Hanul, teaching her to fly to his hand when called. The bird soared through the air, beautiful and deadly, and always came back. Always trusted that One Shik would be there. Later that day, Hyunsu interviewed Hyejin, a marine biologist who had traveled from the coast to deliver some supplies to the center. She showed him videos on her portable device of her swimming underwater with sharks. Sharks are misunderstood, she explained. Humans used to fear them, killed them by the millions. But we learned better. Sharks aren't monsters. They're just fish, very old fish, doing what fish do. Most shark species won't bother humans at all. The few that might bite usually do it because they're curious or confused. They think we're seals. But people still die from shark attacks, Hyunsu pointed out. More people die from falling coconuts, Hyejin said, or lightning strikes, or slipping in their bathrooms. Should we be afraid of bathrooms? Fear isn't logical, it's emotional. And humans decided a long time ago that we didn't want to live our lives controlled by fear. That evening, Jiwoo found Hyunsu sitting alone near Kyung-ho's enclosure. The wolf was lying in the grass watching the sunset. I touched one today, Jiwoo said, sitting down next to him. A dog, not Kyung-ho, a smaller one. Young Mai, the dog trainer, she let me pet him. His name is Jinju. How did it feel? Terrifying, but also wonderful. His fur was so soft and he was so warm. And when I scratched his head, he made this sound almost like a purr. He was happy that I touched him. He wanted me to touch him. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. I understand it now. What the humans have with these animals. It's not about controlling them or using them. It's about connection. About not being alone. Hyunsu watched Kyung-ho in the fading light. Every species in the galaxy evolved to survive. We developed weapons or armor or speed or intelligence. We looked at the universe and asked, how do I defend myself? But humans asked a different question. What question? They asked, who can I befriend? Over the next several days, Hyunsu interviewed more humans. He talked to volunteers who worked with injured foxes, rehabilitators who treated poisonous snakes, trainers who worked with horses. Every person told him the same basic truth in different words. These animals weren't just animals to them. They were individuals. They mattered. One afternoon, he found Tae-young in his office working on medical records. Hyunsu knocked on the door frame. Come in, Tae-young said, not looking up from his screen. What can I help you with? I want to ask you something personal. Why do you do this? This work, I mean, it's dangerous. It doesn't pay well. You could do something easier. Tae-young saved his file and turned to face Hyunsu. When I was young, maybe 7 years old, I found an injured bird in my backyard. Just a small thing. A sparrow with a broken wing. My parents wanted to leave it alone, said nature would take its course. But I couldn't do that. I brought it inside, put it in a box with soft cloth, tried to feed it water with a dropper. Did it survive? No, it died the next morning. I cried for hours. Tae-young smiled at the memory, though his eyes were sad. But here's what I learned. In that moment when I was trying to help the bird, when I was being gentle with it and talking to it softly, I felt connected to something bigger than myself. That tiny bird was fighting to live, and I was fighting to help it live. We were in it together, even though it died. Even though it died. Because the trying mattered. The caring mattered. Humans have a saying, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. That's what this is. Every animal we help here, whether they survive or not, we're saying that they matter, that their life has value, that we see them. That night, Hyunsu couldn't sleep. He got up and walked through the center in the darkness. He found himself at Kyung-ho's enclosure. The wolf was awake, sitting in his usual spot, looking at the stars. Hyunsu sat down outside the fence. For a long time, neither of them moved. Then Kyung-ho stood up and walked over to the fence. He looked at Hyunsu through the wire with those yellow eyes. I don't understand you, Hyunsu said quietly. You could be free. You could leave here anytime. But you stay. Why? Kyung-ho sat down, still watching him. His tail moved slowly back and forth. Is it because they feed you? Because they're useful? The wolf tilted his head slightly as if considering the question. No, Hyun-soo said, answering his own question. It's not that. You stay because this is your pack. These humans, they're your pack. You chose them and they chose you. Kyung-ho made a soft sound, not quite a bark, not quite a whine. Then he lay down with his head on his paws and closed his eyes. After a moment, Hyun-soo realized what the wolf was doing. He was showing trust. In the wild, a wolf would never sleep near a potential threat, but Kyung-ho was comfortable enough to sleep with Hyun-soo sitting just a few feet away. The wolf had decided that Hyun-soo was safe, that he was part of the pack. Hyun-soo sat there for another hour, watching Kyung-ho sleep. And slowly, something fundamental shifted in his understanding. Humans hadn't conquered Earth's predators through strength or intelligence. They had befriended them through trust. And trust, Hyun-soo realized, was the most powerful force in the universe. The alarm woke everyone at dawn. Hyun-soo jumped out of bed, confused and frightened. Through his window, he could see people running toward the south fence. Something was wrong. He found Ji-woo already outside, her portable scanner in her hand. There's a large animal near the fence. Biosigns show it's injured and in distress. They ran toward the commotion. A crowd had gathered at the fence, and Hyun-soo pushed through to see what everyone was looking at. On the other side of the fence, a massive brown bear lay in the grass. Even from a distance, Hyun-soo could see blood on its fur. The bear was breathing heavily, and its eyes looked wrong, unfocused. Tae-young was already there, studying the bear through a portable viewer. She's hurt badly. Looks like she got caught in a trap. See her front leg? It's mangled. A trap? Hyun-soo asked. Who would trap a bear? Illegal hunters, Dae-yoon said angrily. We've had problems with them in the area. They set traps for smaller animals, but sometimes bears stumble into them. This is bad. That leg is infected. If we don't treat it soon, she'll die. So we treat it, Tae-young said simply. Soo-bin arrived carrying a large medical kit. Behind her, Jae-hyun followed with a tranquilizer gun. Jae-hyun was older than Tae-young, with gray in his hair and scars on his arms from years of working with dangerous animals. Are you crazy? Hyun-soo said. You can't go near that bear, look at it. Even injured, it could kill you. Tae-young looked at him calmly. If we don't help, she dies. That's not acceptable. But you could die. Yes, we could, but we won't. Hyun-soo pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the bear. The readout made his blood cold. The bear was in pain, which made it aggressive. It was frightened, which made it unpredictable. According to his scanner's calculations, anyone who approached the bear had a 78% chance of being killed. My scanner says this is suicide, Hyun-soo said, showing them the numbers. Jae-hyun glanced at the scanner and laughed. It wasn't a mean laugh, just amused. Your scanner doesn't know bears. Trust me, we've done this before. Soo-bin, you ready? Ready, Soo-bin said, checking her medical supplies. What's the plan? Tae-young asked, standard approach. I'll use the tranquilizer gun to sedate her from a safe distance. Once she's down, we'll have about 30 minutes to work before she starts waking up. We'll need to clean the wound, remove the trap debris, treat the infection, and bandage the leg. If we're lucky, we can save it, and if we're not lucky, Ji-woo asked quietly, then we'll have to amputate. But let's try to avoid that. Jae-hyun loaded a tranquilizer dart into his gun. Everyone stay back. This needs to be quiet and calm. No sudden movements, no loud noises. The more stressed she is, the more dangerous this becomes. Hyun-soo watched as Jae-hyun approached the fence slowly. He was talking the whole time, speaking in soft, gentle tones. Not to the other humans, but to the bear. Hey there, girl. I know you're hurting. I know you're scared. We're going to help you. Just stay calm. We're not going to hurt you. The bear raised her head and looked at Jae-hyun. She made a sound, something between a growl and a moan. Her teeth showed white in the early morning light. Jae-hyun didn't run. He didn't even step back. He just kept talking, kept his voice soft and steady. I know. It hurts bad, doesn't it? That trap got you good. But we're going to fix it. You just need to trust me for a minute. He raised the tranquilizer gun slowly, taking careful aim. The bear watched him but didn't move. For a long moment, everything was still. Then Jae-hyun fired. The dart hit the bear in the shoulder. She roared and tried to stand, but her injured leg gave out. She fell back down, growling and biting at the dart. Slowly, her movements became slower. Her eyes started to close. Give her 5 more minutes, Jae-hyun said, checking his watch. We need to make sure she's fully sedated. Those 5 minutes felt like hours to Hyun-soo. He kept expecting the bear to jump up and attack. but she just lay there breathing deeply until finally she was completely still. Okay, Jae-hyun said. Let's move. Tae-young opened the gate. Soo-bin, bring your kit. Everyone else stay back unless we call for help. They opened the gate and walked into the enclosure. 3 humans approaching a sleeping bear that could wake up at any moment and kill them all. Hyun-soo's scanner was screaming warnings, but the humans ignored it completely. Soo-bin knelt next to the bear and examined the injured leg. Her face was serious. The trap cut deep. There's a lot of tissue damage and the infection is advanced. We need to clean this thoroughly. How long will it take? Tae-young asked. 20 minutes, maybe 25. We're cutting it close. Then let's work fast. Hyun-soo couldn't look away. The humans worked together with practiced efficiency. Soo-bin cleaned the wound while Tae-young held the leg steady. Jae-hyun prepared medications and bandages. They were so close to the bear, close enough that she could reach them if she woke up, but they didn't seem afraid. They were focused entirely on saving her life. Talk to me, Soo-bin said as she worked. Keep me focused. What are we seeing? Deep lacerations, Tae-young said, examining the wound. The trap had teeth. They dug into the muscle, but I don't think any bones are broken. That's good. Infection is the main problem. This has been festering for days. We need to flush it with antibiotic solution, then pack it with antimicrobial gel. They worked for 23 minutes. Hyun-soo counted every second. Several times the bear stirred slightly and his heart nearly stopped, but each time she settled back into sleep. Finally, Soo-bin tied off the last bandage. Done, let's get out of here. She'll start waking up in about 5 minutes. They gathered their equipment and backed away from the bear slowly. Once they were outside the fence again, Jae-hyun closed the gate. Everyone stood there watching, waiting. The bear's eyes opened. For a moment she just lay there, confused. Then she tried to stand. The injured leg held her weight, protected now by the bandages. She stood fully and looked around at all the humans watching her. Hyun-soo expected her to attack the fence, to roar and try to get at them, but she didn't. She just stood there, swaying slightly, looking at them with dark eyes. Then she turned and walked slowly into the forest, favoring her injured leg but walking. She'll be okay, Tae-young said quietly. The antibiotics will fight the infection. In a few weeks, that leg will heal. How can you be sure? Hyun-soo asked. I can't be sure, but I'm hopeful. Hope is all we ever have. They set up a temporary enclosure near where the bear had been found and put food and water inside. For the next 3 days, the bear came back. She would sleep in the enclosure at night and eat the food they left for her. She never tried to hurt anyone. She seemed to understand that the humans had helped her. Hyun-soo spent those 3 days watching the bear. He watched how she moved, how she interacted with the space the humans had created for her. And he watched the humans, how they checked on her without getting too close, how they changed her bandages while she was sleeping, how they celebrated small improvements in her condition. On the 4th day, Tae-young checked the wound and declared it healing well. That afternoon, they opened the enclosure and let the bear leave. She walked to the edge of the clearing and paused. For a long moment, she looked back at the center, at the humans who had saved her life. Then she walked into the forest and disappeared. That night, Hyun-soo and Ji-woo sat with Tae-young on the porch of his office. The stars were bright overhead, the same stars Hyun-soo could see from his home planet light years away. You could have died today, Hyun-soo said. All of you. You knew the risks. My scanner told you the numbers, but you went anyway, Tae-young nodded. We did? Why? Because she needed help, and we could give it. What other reason do we need? Ji-woo spoke up, her voice thoughtful. On my planet, we have a saying. Protect yourself first, then your family, then your tribe, then your species. In that order. Always, it's about survival. We have a different saying, Tae-young said. We say we're all in this together. All of us. Humans, bears, wolves, birds, everything that lives. We're all on this planet together trying to survive. Why would we not help each other? Because it's dangerous, Hyun-soo said. Living is dangerous. Tomorrow is dangerous. Caring about anything is dangerous because you might lose it. But the alternative is not caring about anything, and that's not living. That's just existing. Hyun-soo looked up at the stars and thought about his own species, how they had approached every other species they met with caution and distance, how they had built walls and defenses, how they had survived, yes, but had they truly lived? I think, he said slowly, that humans might be the bravest species in the galaxy. The council chamber was filled with representatives from 40 different species. Hyun-soo stood at the center podium and his hands were shaking. He had given presentations before, hundreds of them, but this one felt different. This one would change how the galaxy understood humans. His supervisor sat in the front row, all 6 of his eyes focused intently on Hyun-Soo. Next to him, Ji-woo held a datapad with their research files. She gave him a small nod of encouragement. "Honored council members," Hyun-Soo began, "thank you for allowing me to present my findings on humanity. For 6 months I studied their history and evolution. For 2 weeks I lived among them on Earth. What I learned challenges everything we thought we knew about this species." He activated the holographic display. Images of Earth's prehistoric predators filled the air above the council. This is Earth 40,000 years ago. As you can see, the planet was home to some of the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. Dire wolves, cave bears, saber-toothed cats. Any one of these creatures could kill a human easily, and yet humans not only survived, they thrived. The question I was assigned to answer was simple: how? A council member from the Velthron Coalition raised one appendage. "They developed weapons, correct? Tools and intelligence to fight these predators?" "That was my initial theory," Hyun-Soo admitted. "But the evidence tells a different story. Watch this." He showed them the cave paintings. Humans and wolves hunting together. Humans and large cats sitting by fires together. Generation after generation. Humans living alongside these deadly creatures. "They didn't fight them," Hyun-Soo said. "They befriended them." Murmurs rippled through the council. Several members made sounds of disbelief. "I know how this sounds." I had the same reaction. So I went to Earth to investigate. I visited a wildlife rehabilitation center where humans work with injured predators. I watched them treat a bear that, according to my scanner, had a 78% probability of killing them. I interviewed humans who have spent their entire lives working with dangerous animals. And I learned something remarkable. He changed the display to show footage from the center. Tae-young with Kyung-ho, Soo-bin feeding Bomb, Min-ho playing with tiger cubs, Jae-hyun treating the injured bear. Humans have a trait that we don't see in any other species. They form what they call pack bonds with other species. They extend their tribal instincts beyond their own kind. When a human looks at a wolf, they don't just see a predator. They see an individual with personality, emotions, and value. They see a potential friend, a potential family member. Another council member spoke up. "This seems like a survival flaw. Surely many humans have died from trusting dangerous animals." "Some have," Hyun-Soo agreed. "But far fewer than you might think. Because this isn't blind trust. Humans learn to read these animals to understand their body language and moods. They build relationships based on mutual respect and communication. It's not magic. It's empathy combined with patience." He showed more footage. One chick with his hawk. Haijin swimming with sharks. Young Mai training dogs. For the past 10,000 years, humans have domesticated dozens of species. They didn't force these animals into servitude. They formed partnerships. Dogs help humans hunt and humans provide food and shelter. Horses carry humans and humans protect them from predators. Cats control pests and humans give them homes. Everyone benefits. A council member from an aquatic species spoke from her water tank. "But what does this have to do with their current success? Surely in the modern age, these animal relationships are not important." Hyun-Soo smiled. This was the heart of his argument. On the contrary, this trait is fundamental to everything humans do. Think about humanity's approach to galactic diplomacy. When humans first encountered alien species, how did they react? He pulled up historical records. First contact between humans and various alien species. They approached us with curiosity instead of fear. They offered friendship before they offered trade. They tried to understand our cultures, our values, our needs. They extended the same empathy they give to wolves and bears to us. And it worked. Humans have formed more successful diplomatic relationships in 50 years than most species form in 500. The council chamber was quiet now. Everyone was listening carefully. I studied 237 intelligent species before humans. Every single one of them evolved through domination hierarchies. The strong controlled the weak. Predators killed or were killed. Survival meant defending yourself against threats. But humans evolved differently. They survived by building alliances, by turning enemies into friends, by seeing past immediate danger to long-term cooperation. He showed a final image. It was from his last day at the center. Kyung-ho lying peacefully with Tae-young, both of them watching the sunset. This is a human and a wolf. According to every model we have, this relationship should not exist. The wolf should see the human as prey or competition. The human should see the wolf as a threat. But instead they see each other as family, and that honored council members is humanity's greatest strength. He paused, letting his words sink in. We've been asking the wrong question. We asked, why do humans befriend everything that could kill them? The real question is, why don't we? And what opportunities have we missed because we let fear guide us? How many potential allies have we turned away? How many problems could we solve if we approached them with empathy instead of caution? Hyunsu's supervisor stood up. Are you suggesting we should adopt human methods? I'm suggesting we should understand them. Every species in this council has strengths. We have advanced technology, complex mathematics, efficient governments, but humans have something we don't. They have the courage to trust, the wisdom to see beyond immediate danger, the compassion to help even when it's risky. He closed his presentation. My recommendation is that we completely revise our psychological profile of humanity. They are not reckless. They are not foolish. They simply operate on a different principle than we do. Where we see threats, they see possibilities. Where we see dangers, they see friends waiting to be made. And perhaps in learning from them, we can become better ourselves. The council debated for 3 hours. Hyunsu and Jiwoo waited outside the chamber, both of them nervous. Finally, the doors opened and Hyunsu's supervisor emerged. The council has accepted your findings, he said. We will revise our understanding of human psychology. Your report will be distributed to all member species. Well done. Hyunsu felt relief wash over him. Thank you, sir. However, there's one more thing. His supervisor's eyes showed something that might have been amusement. Jiwoo has submitted a request to return to Earth for extended study. She also submitted adoption papers for something called a cat. I assume you know about this? Hyunsu looked at Jiwoo, who was trying very hard not to smile. A cat? His name is Baram, Jiwoo said. He's from the center. Dayan said I could have him if I promised to take good care of him. He's very small and very soft, and I love him. Hyunsu's supervisor sighed. This is exactly what I was afraid of. First humans befriend predators, then they make us do it too. Where does it end? I don't think it ends, Hyunsu said. I think that's the point. 3 months later, Hyunsu received a message from Tae-young. It was a video file. When he played it, he saw Kyung-ho lying in his usual spot in the grass. But he wasn't alone. Next to him was a small gray pup, barely old enough to walk. The pup was playing with Kyung-ho's tail while Kyung-ho watched with patient eyes. Thought you'd want to meet our newest resident, Tae-young's voice said in the video. We found her orphaned in the mountains. Kyung-ho has adopted her as his own. We're calling her Hanul after Wonshik's hawk. She'll grow up here, safe and loved, and when she's old enough, maybe she'll choose to stay like Kyung-ho did, or maybe she'll return to the wild. Either way, she'll know that humans are friends, not threats. And maybe someday that knowledge will spread to all the wolves in these mountains. Maybe they'll all learn that cooperation is better than conflict. The video ended with Kyung-ho licking the pup's head while she chewed on his ear. It was such a simple scene. An adult wolf and a baby wolf playing in the grass. But Hyunsu understood what it really meant. It meant hope. It meant the future. It meant that the cycle of befriending, of trusting, of choosing cooperation over fear would continue. Hyunsu composed a reply to Tae-young. He kept it short and simple. Thank you for everything you taught me. I understand now. He sent the message and sat back in his chair. Through his window, he could see his home planet's 3 moons rising over the city. Somewhere out there, Jiwoo was probably cuddling with her cat. Somewhere further, humans were forming new friendships with new species, both animal and alien. And somewhere in a mountain valley on Earth, a wolf and a pup were playing in the grass. The galaxy, Hyunsu thought, was full of predators. Full of dangers. Full of things that could kill you. But it was also full of potential friends. You just had to be brave enough to say hello. Hyunsu pulled up a new document on his computer. He had another project in mind. Another question that needed answering. If humans could befriend predators, what else were they capable of? What other assumptions did the galaxy need to re-examine? He smiled and started typing. There was so much more to learn. So many more questions to ask.